Shabbat Shalom, friends. Good afternoon. Welcome to Lab Shul's Zoom room. I see people in New York and on the West Coast, in Israel and in Europe. I see family and friends and a lot of fans of 18 special people who are the group, which is Lab Shul's pilot leadership track of Generate. Our elders who have spent this last year thinking about what does aging look like, what does saging look like, what does it mean to come of age in a complicated world, using the best of what we've all learned from each other, from our tradition, to take every day as a gift, asking ourselves today, how do you measure a life? And how do we honor every stage of our journey? I'm Amichai Lavi, the founding rabbi of Lab Shul. I'm here with Naomi Less and Shira Klein, my co-founders, with Sarah Sakalik, our executive director, and with a lot of you from our community who are celebrating this Generate community. You'll see more in a moment. But what today is, this afternoon, is a culmination of a year's worth of study of a group coming together. And we chose to focus on the last words of the book of Deuteronomy and the first words of the book of Genesis that was read this morning in a Zoom synagogue near you as a way to celebrate all sides of the story. It is such an honor and a pleasure to work with this group and to welcome all of us on this afternoon to celebrate Generate. Deeply grateful for all of us for doing this work. And before we get started, I invite us all to take a deep breath of gratitude. We often ask our Bar Mitzvah teens before they take to the stage of their rite of passage, how nervous are you 1 to 10? So I'm going to ask all of our Generate friends, however nervous you are, don't be, take a deep breath. This is a celebration of our sacred story. Thank you so much for joining us. Sarah Sakalik, if you're on to say welcome on behalf of our board, please do so.
Hi, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom and welcome. It is such a joy to be here with all of you today. There are so many people here. It's so wonderful. I'm just really here as a partner with all of the leaders of Generate and nurturing this program from more than a year ago. And we'll do all the gratitudes at the end, but just one particular gratitude at the beginning. Really want to thank UJA New York Federation for being not only our generous supporters, but true partners in developing this program and helping to partner with us to really understand what are the needs in the community and how can we partner together to address them. And so it's really just been a wonderful partnership throughout the year, both on the content side and on the funding side and all of the things that you're going to see today. So it is my joy to welcome you and take it away, Rabbi. Can't wait to see what's going to happen.
What was warmth is now a chill, a slight shudder, but no surprise, no regret as we walk to turn home.
1 year ends, another begins. Our Torah cycle rolls into a new round. One life ends, another begins. Exhale, inhale.
Deep exhale. Deep inhale.
Do it with us. Deep exhale. Stay there a moment. Deep inhale. Stay there a moment. Our breathing cycle continues.
We keep breathing through the rounds. We keep breathing through the transitions, and we evaluate ourselves, our world, looking in, looking out, seeing.
In today's parsha, we start by reading the end of the Torah, a portion about Moses dying. And then we scroll around to the start and read about the beginning of the world.
Our thoughts turn to weighing one's life, measuring a life journey, appraising one's creations. For example, what was Moses thinking about his own life journey?
What were the people who traveled through the desert for 40 years saying about Moses' life as they approached their beginnings in the Holy Land and he approached his end? Our writings suggest the divine was also taking stock in the beginning, seeing good in many creations. And God saw creation was very good.
What do we see? Do we see good? It's complicated.
It sure is. Shabbat Shalom, friends. And welcome to Storahtelling. Storahtelling is where the Torah meets your story, where history meets fantasy, and when the ancient page meets today's virtual stage. Welcome to this special Generate Storahtelling, co-created and generated by this entire group, writing, chanting, singing, composing, and co-creating an ancient story in a brand new way. Now, what's Storahtelling? I think many of us know, but some of us might not. So here's a quick review. Once upon a time, in Jerusalem, 2,500 years ago, the very first Torah service was activated. In town square, Ezra, the high priest, stood on a stage and read from the Torah scroll in Hebrew, in the beginning, and the rest of the story. Like then, so now, the majority of people in the town square did not understand the Hebrew. And so the leadership introduced the mavens, the mevinim, those who made the ancient Torah understood in the vernacular of the day, translating not just the text, but also the context and the subtext of scriptures into a daily conversation of meaning and purpose to the lives of all present. For 1,500 years, every time the Torah was publicly proclaimed, it was done so in split screen, chanted in Hebrew, translated and interpreted into the vernacular by the mevinim, the mavens, those who make understanding happen. About 1,000 years ago, for a bunch of political and financial reasons, you know, it's always that, the mevinim were phased out of currency, mostly in the Jewish world. And about 20 years ago, a bunch of us decided to bring them back. Storahtelling was born as an old new way of putting the Torah front and center and asking ourselves, what do these ancient words have to tell us today so we can be better at being people, at being Jews, at being members of society, parents, grandparents, siblings, citizens, builders of a better world. On this Shabbat afternoon, on the Shabbat of Bereshit, the Generate group is going to present the last lines of the book of Devarim, of Deuteronomy, and the first lines of the book of Genesis. As you heard the lovely introduction from Lorraine and Janie, we're going to go into the first Aliyah. How do you measure a life? Is going to have 3 acts today. We're going to invite some of you up to the first Aliyah and some of you up to the second Aliyah. And you can do so by just really sitting up when you feel called, and the screen will have the slides with the particular blessings. So without further ado, the world's bestseller, the world's longest running rerun that begins again on this Shabbat is having a whole brand new way of expression. I invite us to exhale and inhale, live from Sinai, drum roll please, and live here on Zoom and in our homes. How do you measure a life? Parashat Bereshit. We reveal the Torah, and we're going to have our first video in which Karen Gear, one of our Generate leaders, will help us open our hearts and our virtual ark. Shabbat Shalom. So what you just noticed, my friends, is that these beautiful images that you saw with Karen's voice were taken by the Generate group. This is a collage of images that are about noticing what these last 6 months of COVID were about, as this Generate group pivoted from being in person to being online. We're finding new ways to opening our hearts, to rising to the challenge, to being present to old and new ways of opening our hearts and our sacred scriptures. So I want you to imagine that the ark is open, that the Torah scroll is there in front of us. And I want to invite all those of us. There are 91 participants, which means there's more than 100 people here in our virtual shul this afternoon, this Shabbat. If you want to come up to the Torah on this special Shabbat because you want to honor an elder, you want to honor an ancestor, you want to honor a teacher, maybe one of the people being honored today, or maybe someone else who today you really feel the legacy that you are grateful for from any one of those people we call ancestors, teachers, elders, givers of wisdom. This first aliyah is for you. We're going to post the slides for the bracha right here on the screen. Thank you, Jen. I invite you, if you feel so called, to unmute. It's going to be a little cacophonous, but beautiful. And I will join us as we bless our scriptures and our elders. On the count of 3, all those of you who want to, and I also want to invite you, if you'd like, to put in the chat who it is that you're honoring today. Who are the elders or ancestors or teachers who you want to honor today? Wow, Marina gets us started with
And these are teachers who are still with us here that we could say this to their faces, that are still alive with us here today, that we would want to thank. Because
all choices are good choices.
Yeah.
So folks, as the names are coming in, I want to give us a few seconds to really put those names in. And then let's take another good exhale and inhale in honor of this moment. And I will count us to 3 and we will say the bracha together. 1, 2, 3. Baruch
Adonai HaMevorach,
Baruch
Adonai Hamara Le'olam Hamed,
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach
Baruch Adonai
Asher b'chavanu et Torato, Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Torah.
Amen. ויעל משה מערבות מואב אל הר נבו ראש הפסגה אשר על פני יריחו ויראהו אדוני את כל הארץ את הגלעד עד דן.
Read when I was on it.
Good afternoon. This is CNN, and I'm Wolf Blitzer. With Moses and his wife Zipporah on the steppes of Moab, just east of the Dead Sea, where I'm covering a fast developing story. The esteemed prophet Moses, famous for leading the Israelites' exodus from Egypt, has been commanded by the divine them to meet his maker. That's right, Moses is now in the final day of his long and glorious life. He will soon begin his ascent from here to the summit of Pisgah, opposite Jericho on Mount Nebo, where the divine them will show him the land from Gilead as far as Dan. I'm now with Moses and his wife Zipporah. Moses, I'd like to ask, well, he's shaking his head no.
Wolf, you can talk to me.
Well, how do you feel now knowing this is the last day of Moses' life, that he'll never set foot in the promised land?
It's a difficult time, filled with mixed emotions. After decades of devotion to the divine them, and now understanding that my husband will be able to see, but not enter the promised land, it's painful for both of us. And why?
Will you accompany Moses to the summit?
No, this is his journey. Leading the Israelites for the past 40 years has been his work, and I'm very proud of my husband's leadership.
But he wasn't there as a husband and father.
Fulfilling the infinite them's commands was 24/7. That had to be his priority, while mine became raising our two sons. Did they miss out not having Moses more present as a father? For sure. But I know that they understood the significance of their father leading our people to freedom and into the promised land. He brought extraordinary people and unforgettable moments to our lives. Supreme artist Bezalel, that glorious tabernacle, his work. He was haute couture designer for holiness, gold, silver, and what a privilege to know the greatest people of our generation. And our family had a ringside seat at Sinai.
Zipporah, did you think that Moses would be wandering in the wilderness for so long?
Never. We thought perhaps a year, and then our lives would regain some sense of normalcy. But this vast wilderness seemed to roll out endlessly. Slowly, the realization sank in. We may not live to see the promised land. And in fact, Wolf, an entire generation did not. We fought off depression, lost track of time. We put off important decisions. And it pains me now that we haven't made any burial plans for Moses and me.
So why is this so important to you?
Well, our son, Eliezer, died in the wilderness, and we had no choice but to bury him right then and there. There's no way to return and find that sacred spot, and I need some kind of marker, a tangible marker. Our journey has felt like a never-ending scroll, but now the story is coming to an abrupt close, bringing my husband's life to an end. I won't know exactly when he dies or if he's buried, and I have long yearned to be buried alongside my husband. Moses seems willing to put it all into divine them's hands. I feel panic, frustration. I am incomplete without him, and frankly, I'm frightened. Oh, I want to hug him just once more. I can't be with him when he takes his last breath, or hold his hand. Oh, it's unbearable.
I'm sure viewers are feeling great sympathy for you and Moses. Zipporah, thank you so much for sharing with us. We wish you well. I'll be following Moses on his ascent.
ואת כל נפתלי, ואת ארץ אפרים ומנשה, ואת כל ארץ יהודה עד הים האחרון.
Moses and I have reached the summit. Divine Them has produced clear skies and is showing Moses all of Naphtali, the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, the whole land of Judea, as far as the Mediterranean.
ואת הנגב, ואת הכיכר, בקעת יריחו, עיר התמרים עד צוער.
Divine Them is pointing out to Moses the vast Negev desert, the Jericho Valley,
next to you now.
near the city of palm trees and as far as Zohar.
ויאמר אדוני אליו, זאת הארץ אשר נשבעתי לאברהם, ליצחק וליעקב לאמור, לזרעך אתננה. הראיתך בעיניך ושמה לא תעבור.
Moses has just handed me a statement which he's asked me to read. I've been blessed with a long life, a rich life. I could regret every mistake I've made, every wrong choice, feel anger about hardships I've suffered, or I can count my blessings, savor my accomplishments. It wasn't until 80 that I found my true purpose, when the Divine Them chose me to lead my people. The lesson? It's never too late to add meaning to your life. My relationship with the Divine Them was complicated and often contentious, but I've brought this second generation to the very edge of the promised land. I'm tremendously proud of what I've achieved. I hope that Zipporah learns of my burial fate. It's so important to her. I choose King Solomon's words. Let a person rejoice in his accomplishments. That is one's portion. The Divine Them is now pointing out to Moses all the land we can see from here, the land promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and their descendants. I can't hear all their words, but there seems to be animated conversation about Moses' final resting place. Moses looks angry, disappointed, and yet appears to be resigned to his fate. Reporting from the summit of Pisgah for CNN, I'm Wolf Blitzer.
Well. Thank you, Mr. Blitzer and CNN. Thank you, the First Lady, Zipporah Rabbeinu, for sharing perspective from the top of the mountain with a 360 view of what does it feel like to be at this moment, then and now. For all those of us who joined you on the top of the mountain to honor our ancestors, teachers, and leaders, the list in the chat is beautiful and you're invited to keep it coming. I want us to take a moment now and honor all those teachers and elders, the ones who are here with us in spirit and the ones who fed us over the years, and all the creativity that is in this room right now. Let us take a moment to breathe, to kiss the scroll, and together say these words. If you were saying the blessing coming up, I'm inviting you to unmute again and let's say it together.
Baruch atah Eloheinu melech haolam natan lanu Torah v'chayei olam natavenu Baruch Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Please mute yourselves again. We will transition into the second act.
What was once as we walk to turn home.
Well, now we are still on the top of the mountain. And for those of you who were wondering, was Tzipporah, Moses' wife, up there in the scene? Well, we don't know about that, but Barbara did, and Ivan did. And so the first act chronicles this personal midrash, this storytelling of that moment in our history. And so for the second Aliyah, we have another wonderful group of our Generate leaders who imagined more of what may have been happening on the top of that mountain. And so we have David and Renee inviting us to think about not so much Tzipporah, but about Joshua, the next leader. And why is it important to hear from this next person as we think so much these days about leadership and transitions of leadership and what makes a leader then and now. So we're going to call up for the second Aliyah all those of us who want to honor a teacher, a mentor who you've helped teach, someone who has given you the gift and you are able to honor them forward. So if the first Aliyah was about honoring the teachers who we received from, who are the teachers who you are able to hand something onto? Those of you who can name the leaders of the future and hand it over to them. So I want to invite those of you who want to honor the leaders of the future. Maybe it's your children or grandchildren, your students, your friends. Maybe you are politically involved in supporting people who are running for office. All those of you who want to honor the influencers and the teachers that are now and next. Yamdu for the second Aliyah. And I'm inviting Renee and David to get ready. Chuck Ramat is going to be our Torah blesser. And we're going to put the screen yet up again with these words of the blessing. You can come up as many times as you want. But let's take another moment for some of these names to come in and some of these call outs to be heard. For all these leaders to enter our heart and our chat box. You can keep them coming throughout the Aliyah. Let's take another breath together. And let's bless this story. Ready? And bless. Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu ha'olam Asher barakanu im kol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Adonai noten ha'Torah. Amen.
Vayamad Sham Moshe Eved Adonai Eretz Moav Al Pi Adonai.
He's dead. He's dead. My God, he's dead. At your command, O Lord, he has died in the land of Moab. Life can indeed change in an instant. I am in shock and disbelief.
Vayikbar oto bagai be'eretz Moav mul beit Peor lo yoda ish et kvurato ad hayom hazeh.
I, Joshua, saw him die from my vantage point behind a rock, and then he vanished, and no one knows his burial place to this day. Moses, my leader, my friend, my brother, we were inseparable, and now you are gone.
Moshe ben Me'ah Esrim Shana b'moto lo kata eino v'lo noslecho.
Moses was 120 years old but his eyes were undimmed and his vigor unabated. His loss has taken my breath away. He was the essence of a true leader.
Vayivku b'nei Yisrael et Moshe Barvot Moab Shaloshim Yom Vayitmu Yimei Bechi Evel Moshe.
Joshua, I've watched you grow up. Let me share what's on my heart as an elder of this community. We have wept and we have mourned for 30 days. We've asked ourselves, how can we go on without Moses? Knowing full well that the time after him will be one of challenge and change. No one knows what lies ahead. And yet, the period of weeping and wailing for Moses has come to an end. To everything there's a season, even in mourning. And now it is you, Joshua, son of Nun, who is the one who must take us forward.
V'Yoshua bin Nun Malei Ruach Chachma Kisamach Moshe Et Yodav Alav V'Yishma'u Elav B'nei Yisrael V'Yasu Kasher Tziva Adonai et Moshe.
Yes, Moses blessed me and chose me to lead and inspire the people, with God and the Hebrews at my side. Moses laid his hands on me and anointed me, transmitting his power to be available to me when the time came. The Israelites know this, and they listen to me. I feel their respect because we are following what the divine commanded Moses. Am I enough?
Lo kam navi od B'Yisrael k'Moshe asher yida'o Adonai panim el panim.
Joshua, the people know that there will never again arise a prophet like Moses, whom the Lord singled out face to face. Who could possibly replace our beloved Moses? He displayed such signs, miracles, and portents in the land of Egypt that Pharaoh agreed to free us from the land of our servitude.
V'chol ha'otot v'amoftim asher shlocho Adonai lasot be'eretz Mitzrayim l'faro l'chol avadav u'l'chol artso.
We know that never again will there be the great might and awesome power that Moses displayed before all Israel with a strong hand. But Joshua, we need a different kind of leader now. It's time to begin our new lives. Are you ready, Joshua? Are we ready, O Hebrew people, to begin the next chapter? It is traditional when we end the reading of the 5 books of Moses. We say, let us be stronger. Every end is a beginning. Let us say the words we say when we complete the books of the Torah and begin again. Hazak, hazak v'nitazek.
From strength to strength, may we be strengthened.
Hazak, hazak. Chuck, if you will read for us that verse, the last verse, one more time.
U'lechol hayad hachazaka u'lechol hamorah hagadol asher asa Moshe le'enei kol Yisrael.
אמן ואמן, חזק חזק ונתחזק.
חזק ונתחזק.
Amen. Thank you, Rabbi David Klein, for that rabbinic proclamation. And with that, my friends, thank you, Chuck, for this beautiful chanting. Thank you, Joshua, and thank you, our elder, Renee, for taking us to the top of the mountain, for all those of us who joined us up here to honor the next generation of leaders. And what a moving list of people is already in our chat. Let us honor the generational handover of leadership, all generations here and now. I invite you to unmute if you'd like so we can say this blessing for the tree of life that's planted within us together. Ready? Kiss to the Torah. Send a kiss to the screen. And let's say this together. Baruch Eloheinu asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch Adonai noten haTorah. Amen v'amen. Thank you all for coming up. I'm going to hand it over to the next musical moment.
What was warm is now a chill, a slight shudder, but no surprise, no regret. As we walk to turn home, what was warm is now a chill, a slight shudder, but no surprise, no regret as we walk to turn home.
Let's take a deep breath and step into the story. One year ends, another begins. One life ends, another begins. Moses climbs the mountain and takes in the vast expanse of land promised to his ancestors. He is 120, clear-sighted and strong. Standing alone on the peak, he's told that his long, hard journey, his work, is done. And with that, or perhaps a kiss, the divine draws Moses' last breath and the people mourn for 30 days. Imagine Moses gazing out at the promised land, his goal for 40 years, knowing he can't enter. He sees the arc of his life, a baby in a basket, his family, his talks with God, freeing slaves, the desert, and he can see the future in which he can't take part. What does he feel? I think of my father who died years ago, a hardworking and generous man. He'd often express satisfaction to me saying, I accomplished what I set out to do. Toward the end of his life, we sensed that he was ready, that he felt his life was complete. Dayenu. How many of us can say that? So now, imagine your Moses looking out at your life in all directions. In a word, how do you feel? I welcome you to put some thoughts in the chat. In a word, how would you feel? I see gratitude. Are there more thoughts? More gratitude. Hope, joy, scared. Yes, looking forward to what is to come. You're looking out, seeing your whole life before you. Grateful. Thank you, Kara. Hoping to feel complete. I can appreciate that. It's interesting to imagine. But let's now release this thought, take a deep breath, and move on. So how do you measure a life? Consider Moses, a legendary leader, or as a mostly absent father and spouse, one who brought people out of bondage, or one who kept them wandering in the desert, furious, one who brought down broke down the commandments for his people, or who actually broke them in a fit of rage, smashed them? Let's take 5 minutes together in small groups. Through Jen's Magic with Zoom, we're going to be offered a small group to join. So let's join with a few people in this group for 5 minutes and talk about how you would measure Moses's life. What evidence would you use? What metrics to evaluate this man's life? Thank you.
Lori, and while we get set, hello everybody, I'm Naomi Less from our Lab Shul Ritual team. And while we get set, these breakout rooms often take a second. We're going to share a song from the heart and from the past, featuring our own Janie Graver as the flautist. Please enjoy as you head off and accept the invitation to a breakout room. Please enjoy Tumbala Laika. You'll receive an invitation on your screen, and you just accept the invitation. You'll be transported magically to a breakout room. So I know we have some folks who are here in this main room wondering, did you receive an invitation to go to a breakout room? And if not, we can have a conversation here too, Lori, that feel free to facilitate.
Sure. I'm not sure if people are kind of on a break at this moment, but I welcome anyone who's here with us to consider, how would you measure Moses's life? Anyone here with us live?
For sure, we have a number of people. Feel free to unmute yourself if you.
Hi.
Yeah.
I just unmuted. It's Ro. Hi.
Hi.
That's such a complicated question, right? That's such a great question, and I'm finding myself a little stymied. I got to keep thinking. It's, because it was such an out of the normal thing. I mean, he wasn't just a prophet, he was the prophet of all time. And how do we even begin to get into what that must have been like, and how much of a pass does he get for being like an absentee husband and father and all that, because he was doing something so larger than life.
Right. Well, I do think about those who are called to take up large public servant roles, and how impossible it is to really balance your private life with that huge public platform. And yet we do see people do it, like, to my mind, Obama, Barack Obama as an example. you know, and I don't know, perhaps there are many others I don't even realize. But I tend to measure in terms of positive social impact. That's my habit.
Yeah, but there's also the piece of like, yes, but you're who deserves you more than your intimates, right? Don't they deserve the best of you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I have a sense that, like, you know, watch out. Sorry.
I thought that would work.
No.
Yeah.
I you know, I think your family deserve your best you, and that's you've got to be able to juggle that with, you know, everything else. You know what I mean? And if you can't, then you're gypping your most important people. I don't know.
Right.
So, Lori, can I just like restate the question in my own brain? Because I'm so thinking about this, and I'm thinking about Barbara Klein's amazing rendition of Tzipora. Like, how would you measure his life with what evidence, with what metrics? And it totally depends on who the person is in that person's life, you know? Like, would his son think that he lived a good life and was a great, you know, versus like starring the Israelite number 5 who like was redeemed from Egypt by Moses. So it's a really hard question, you know, and I can't help but think about my own mother who, like, I don't know how much impact in the global sense of the world and social justice and what have you, but the people that she really, you know, interacted with as a social worker and my own, you know, our family, you know, wow, she did amazing things for people's individual lives as opposed to like impacting change. And so just, I don't even know how
that
to.
is true positive social impact. I don't, does not have to be of historic proportion, but to each and every life that she touched. That would be true too of my mother, who was a math teacher, but she built, you know, confidence and competence in these young people, and they grew as a result of their time with her, or as a role model for her fellow teachers, her colleagues, and things like that. Are there others who want to jump in here?
I'm sorry I'm not on screen. Rosalie Eisen. I'm here to honor Janie. This is amazing. You know, I think about like the story about Reb Zusha, right? When he gets to the pearly gates, God's not going to ask, you know, were you Moses enough? Like, were you Reb Zusha enough? You know, we bless our children on Friday nights, and really, what are we saying? We really are blessing them to not be just like Ephraim and Manasseh or Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, but really to bless them, I think, to live the gifts of their soul. Like each of us were given gifts, and I think it's, you know, how much we stand present to that. And some are called to be, you know, great prophets and prophetesses, and really may those people really step forward, you know, in this time. We so need that kind of, you know, righteous leadership like Moses that knows he can't do it alone. So that's my take of it. You know, where some people are called to do different things, and the people and their support systems hopefully have their own gifts to support them while they are able to live their own gifts.
Wonderful.
In terms of impact, the fact that here we are thousands of years later still talking about Moses, I think speaks to the question. He is obviously, his tenacity, and we think of our leaders flipping and flopping every 2 to 4 years, and here's a man who was committed and remained committed for so long. And the idea of following your passion, following something that is to your center, of being so critical to you in terms of feeling a sense of wholeness. He's an incredible example of that to all of us.
Lori, I think folks are going to start to come back now. Any closing words? And I'm going to share the video again as people re-enter. Although I think
We're back.
are here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
To our group discussion, thank you all for your comments. I appreciate them. And as the others come back, we're going to debrief a little bit. So if you like, Naomi, start the music and it will flow.
I think everybody's here.
Okay. Okay. So welcome back, everyone. I hope that was an interesting conversation for you, thought-provoking. Those of us who stayed in the main room had quite a lot to share. I wonder if anyone would like to share with the larger group some of the metrics, so to speak, the ways in which one could measure Moses's life or measure a life.
Oh, we didn't know what. We didn't remember what we had discussed.
Okay.
So we just talked about Moses and his ending.
And his ending.
Right. And was he sad or angry or
satisfied?
Well, it was very difficult for him. But then I was thinking and I asked, what does it mean to get to the promised land to each of us?
Right, right.
What is the promised land?
That's another very good question. I'm going to pause there, Sheila, and turn to the larger group and ask, did anyone else come up with some thoughts about how you would measure Moses's life? And if you like, you can put them in the chat. We'll all see them that way, if you like.
I think that.
Yes?
I think that Moses finished his task. His task was not to get them into the promised land. It was to get them out of Egypt and through the desert and with the Torah. And his 120 years, his 120 Jahr, fine. Well, it's time for new leadership. He did his job, and he died in the best possible way. Complete.
Complete. Thank you very much, Rabbi Klein. Any other thoughts? I see here creativity and self-reflection, but that's how you would measure. He came so far, overcoming his background, going from oppressor to a liberator.
We wondered whether he had any conflict about husband and father. We questioned that. We only had 2 people in our chat room, so it was very easy to just exchange back and forth. But that was he ambivalent? Did he have any conflict? Was that a part of him at all?
Right.
So that was something we explored.
Right. And when you think of the times he was living in versus the times now when we're really encouraged to find work-life balance or work-family balance.
He probably didn't, we concluded.
Okay, I think I'm going to move on from here. I thank you all. I hope that was rich for you. But it's complex, right? And now we're completing a season of reflection, setting intentions for the year to come. So here's the question we in the Generate group want to end with. How will you measure your life? This is a big conversation that we've been having all year and that we hope you'll continue thinking about and having with others in the days and years ahead, starting today. Moses has died. The world begins anew. Thank you for joining this conversation.
A reflection on the death of Moses. Inhale, exhale. Imagine a man is dying alone in a hospital room, maybe of COVID. He can barely breathe, but he's not ready to go. He's very scared. I can't breathe. Please, I cannot breathe. Inhale, exhale. There are people around the dying man, family members, a doctor who feels they have to move on, There are other patients to take care of. A nurse walks in. Immediately she holds his hand, whispers gently, telling him stories, life stories, and slowly he gets calmer. It is eventually time to go, but not yet. She keeps on talking tenderly and in a consoling manner. It is as if an angel had entered the room. She protects him, holds his hands, and he gets ready to go. Maybe she is the Shekhinah, the divine presence herself. Inhale, exhale. There is a legend about the death of Moses. God summons the soul of Moses to leave his old body, but she, the soul of Moses, doesn't want to do it. For Moses is too great a being. The soul refuses to leave the body. God sends 3 angels to do the job. Maybe God should have sent the Shekhinah to talk to Moses. The divine presence would help the soul depart. She would have talked to Moses differently, unlike those male angels that tried too hard. Maybe a woman would have been more understanding, more loving. She would have spoken with him and not at him. Maybe the feminine presence of God would have breathed with Moses, not take his breath away. Inhale, exhale. When a person is dying, perhaps the person does not want to go, thinking that there are still things to do that have to be done, to be with friends, with family. God told Moses that he would not set foot in the promised land, that he had to leave this earth before reaching the destination. Maybe Moses is thinking in his last minutes, who will stand up to God when I am gone? Who will be against inequity? Who will resist the evildoers? Inhale, exhale. It is his last breath. His soul will say goodbye, reminding him how great the life had been. He smiles after he dies, as he dies, perhaps a memory of his mother hovering over him. Moses remembered the women who surrounded his birth and saved him again and again, and saved all of us. It is said that God kissed Moses on his mouth to catch his last breath, but I believe it was the Shekhinah, the divine feminine, kissing him goodbye. Exhale, exhale.
Thank you, Marina, so deeply for this remarkable midrash. And thank you, Lori, for leading us through this beautiful conversation about how do we measure the life of Moses, of each one of us, as this year begins. Friends, this powerful rendition of ending the Torah and beginning again, as we said earlier, is really co-created by our Generate group, who spent all these months thinking about how we make meaning of these stories. How do we measure this life? For this third Aliyah and final one, we called up the elders who taught us and the leaders we are grooming. We want to invite the Generate group up to the Torah to be under one big collective talit and to celebrate this rite of passage as you are really stepping up as our teachers and leaders. So we're all here in the room, all 18 of you. I don't know if you're able to watch in gallery view. You already met most of our group and you will meet more in just a moment. including Harold and Julie, who are part of the group, and Ora, who's going to chant in just a moment, and Ruth and Lorraine. So let us take a moment, all those of us who spent this last year on this journey, alongside with your family members and adoring fans. First of all, just take a deep breath of gratitude. Whew, here now. We're about to start Bereshit again. Let's take a moment to kiss the scroll. I'm sending you all an air kiss and inviting you to send them around to each other. We feel it, and let's bless this moment together. Ready? Let's go. Unmute, please, friends. Baruch Hu
Adonai Habarah, Baruch Adonai Torah le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ruach haolam, asher b'chanu ונתנו את התורה, Baruch Adonai natan Torah. Amen.
Reshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Light. Ve'haaretz. Hayta tohu vavohu ve'choshech al pnei tehom ve'ruach Elohim mirachefet al pnei hamayim.
Moses exhaled for the last time, and that breath swirled endlessly into darkness, out, out, out into the infinite. That breath, which on the one side of the scroll was the final exhale, on the other side, reversed, is an inhale, an eternal split-second inward breath.
Okay again. Now push. Inhale. Push, push harder. Yes. Ah, the waters. Now one more push again. We've got this. Once again, we've got this.
Light.
Brightness. Clarity.
V'haaretz hayta tohu vavohu v'choshech al pnei tehom v'ruach Elohim mirachefet al pnei hamayim. And verse 3 in Hebrew.
Vayomer Elohim yehi or, vayihi or.
Light, brightness,
clarity,
paradise, the garden. I had forgotten how incredibly beautiful it was here in the beginning. Who am I, you ask? You probably haven't heard of me. They banished me and shut down my story pretty quickly. You, Eve, you're my replacement. I came first, me, Lilith. Not from Adam, but born with him, his equal. Ha! Standing up for that concept got me exiled and cursed. I am a nasty woman. So here we are again. The scroll is so thin now, with so much to unroll before us. I've been here before, full of fire and optimism, ready to get into all the good trouble that lies ahead. I've haunted you all with my demands for equality, freedom, and respect. I've lurked in the shadows, trying to distract men from their crusades of greed and destruction. I feel like I failed, Eve, and I'm questioning whether it's worth it. 5,780 times I've tried. I weep for the destruction of the garden, the babies that pass from this world with empty bellies, all the humanity ground down in poverty and desperation. I'm losing faith. How will I know if this time my efforts will make a difference?
Welcome back, Lilith. I've heard a lot about you. I ignored the gossip, and secretly, I admire your freedom, your values, and your courage. As your replacement, I was created from Earthman to serve beneath him. His superior attitude casts me as unequal. He is insensitive to our community and to our fragile environment. Since you were here, although on the surface the garden looks like paradise, it has seriously deteriorated. I want to trade my comfort and privilege for change. But it's not possible unless I change. I find this really frightening. On the other hand, if I don't change, I'll be complicit in the garden's ruin. This is a struggle, but I must change. I need to do the work.
Eve, there is no promise that it will all work out. We're not assured that the Torah will keep on scrolling. Perhaps all humanity's inscriptions will be lost in a vast library, a dusty book tucked away on an insignificant shelf buried under other forgotten books. Yet here we are again, looking forward, seeing the generations to come. I want to know that my defiance and dissent will influence the future for good. I want Shekhinah's promise, but as I've discovered, the divine doesn't give promises. We may never get to know if our life's work will leave a mark. We can only work our hardest to do what our heart tells us and hang on to hope with all our might.
Lilith, I need a partner. You are just the person that I need to help me. Lilith, I love your attitude. Together we can fix things. Oh, I just received Earthman and his children are committed to work with us. They saw the light and it was good. Hallelujah. But then I heard one of the children shout angrily, "You adults, you caused the damage. Now it's on you to repair the world." Lilith, we've been given a challenge to make our lives meaningful. Let's not think only of ourselves, our regrets, our hurts, our fears. We are at the beginning again and have the power to leave a legacy of light, but only if we use that power to dedicate ourselves to your battle cry of freedom and justice and saving our garden. It's hard. Let's start the work again, our annual cycle. But let's make it permanent and create hope. Shalom.
Shalom.
Vayitzer Adonai Elohim et ha'adam afar min ha'adama vayipach be'afav nishmat chayim vayihi ha'adam lenefesh chaya.
Wow. Thank you, Aura, for chanting the first words of the first book. Thank you to Ruth and to Lorraine, to Eve and Lilith, who don't usually get to tell the story of creation together. But in this imaginative retelling of the beginning of the world, we have this feminine wisdom, this leadership to save the garden of then and now. Thank you so much for this midrash, for co-creating this way of reimagining our story. I want to invite us to take another breath of gratitude, the privilege of breathing from the breath of Moses to the breath that animated our world and is doing so right now. And I want to invite our Generate leaders to come back together and let us say the blessing for the life, for the wisdom, for being right here, right now. Unmute, please, my friends. With a great sense of joy, let's bless this moment. Baruch
Adonai Eloheinu haolam
Asher
natan
Kayam
bechaye olam v'ata b'tohem Baruch Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen.
This would be the moment if this was a B mitzvah where we would throw candy at you all. First of all, who wants that? And secondly, we can't. So instead, we're really sending love. And we want to end this moment of Torah, as we always do, with a healing prayer. A Misha Berach to the a Misha Berach to our teachers, a Misha Berach, a blessing of healing to all of us who need healing right now. Healings for our bodies and healings for our souls, healing for our countries and healings for our leaders, healing for our planet, healing for the garden, healing all around. Naomi, why don't you start leading us with the Misha Berach?
Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Mishebercha, Imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah. May the one who blessed our parents bless all of us on this special day, for climbing up all the way to Mount Sinai and Mount Nebo in honor of this grand tale.
On this Shabbat of Bereshit, when we begin again to chant the words of our tradition, we want to send a special beracha, a blessing of refuah, of healing, refuat haguf, healing for each and every body, refuat hanefesh, healing and health to every mind and soul and heart, refuah to all the incredible, creative, loving, and patient leaders who stood up on this day to be our teachers, our Mevinim, our Moseses and Zipporahs, our Joshuas and Liliths, our Eves and media people, our artists and musicians, our interrogators of the sacred stories, our interpreters of the ancient riddles for our modern lives. May each one of you, our dear Generate leaders, have a year ahead and many more of health and learning, of joy and understanding, of community and resilience. May this year feed you and feed your loved ones and feed us all with the aging of saging, with the wisdom of years, with the humor and love to make this day and every day a better one for you and for all of us. May many generations learn from you, and may this gift keep on giving. To every single one of us here in this room, may we too be blessed by the long life of Moses, by the courage of our ancestors, by the leadership models we know we've got and we can help create. May we survive and thrive in the days and weeks and months and years ahead, in the middle of this pandemic, in the middle of this moment of so much political strife. May today be a gift that keeps on giving. and give us all nourishment and courage, joy and hope, resilience and remembrance of what it's like to be a sacred community, a Kehillah Kedusha. On this day, let's send out this blessing of healing to every single being on this planet. And let's begin each with ourselves. I invite you to take your hands and rub them together. Rub your hands together, my friends, to bring all the energy of the sacred circle together, left and right, heart and mind, and then take them, put them on your heart. Let the healing begin here. And when we're ready, let us all sing together the longest exhale with an amen. Naomi, will you lead us?
Inhale, exhale, one more inhale. And let us say, Amen.
Amen, amen. Thank you, Naomi. And I want to invite Stuart Himmelfarb, one of our Generate leaders and dear friend, to give us our closing poem that you've heard fragments of throughout this program, so beautifully composed by Karen Gear. Stuart, our dear poet in residence, take it away.
The end, the beginning, dawn. The sun rises over the fields, a late November morning. Low light reveals what has happened. The yield of the field, gone now, brought sustenance to many. The farmer pauses, sighs, as the brown remnants crunch underfoot. It's a welcome sound, familiar, a sign of something to be expected. In the spring, this field was bursting. The same sun rose, but it fed the crops. The soil, now cold and nearly frozen, was soft, moist, also bursting. Minerals rose, nutrients traveled up into the roots, the stems, to the flowers or the buds, and eventually into the harvest. Eventually into our food, onto blessed tables and into us. Plates thankfully held our meals, and then, sated, we gathered up what's left, bagged it, and returned it to the soil. Our compost sizzled and was spread into the land, nourishing it as we had been nourished. Midday, the sun overhead, it warms the farmer who contemplates what went well, what did not, what sold, what did not, what endured, what gave way, and what will be tried anew next year when spring returns, when the sun again warms and nourishes, rains soaking the ground, and minerals and nutrients begin their trip up again, yet again. Evening, one last look at the field. Autumn colors in the trees, shadows extending. Darkness covers the land, a shroud. The image returns. The earth was without form and empty. What was warmth is now a chill, a slight shudder. But no surprise, no regret. A collar is raised, adding some warmth. A final look over the field now darkened. A shrug as we turn to walk home again. And the land now resting, we hope, prepares for the next cycle. What was warmth is now a chill, a slight shudder, but no surprise, no regret, as we turn to walk home.
Thank you, Stuart, for this beautiful walk, for the seasons in the fields, to this moment right now. Friends, we're about to almost close this ritual with a few moments of blessing to this remarkable group. We're gonna take this moment to invite us all for Shehecheyanu, the blessing we reserve for special moments that occur very rarely or only once. And so right now I want to invite all of us from the Generate group and all of us celebrating with you to breathe these beautiful words together. Think of all the journeys that have brought us here and now, and the journeys yet to come. So folks from Generate, I invite you to unmute, and we're going to say this together in a cacophony of gratitude. Ready? Let's go. Naomi, you're going to lead us with the singing?
And just get us fast first.
So we're gonna have the Generate group. I invite you to take a deep breath in, and then the count of 3, say the blessing together. We'll speak the blessing, then I will bring us into song. Inhale, 1, 2, 3.
Adonai Eloheinu melech
Efianu,
v'kiyamanu v'hegianu b'zman hesed.
A blessing in the presence of the infinite. We pause with gratitude for the journeys that have brought us to the here and now.
Amen, amen. We are here now. So friends, before we end this Generate celebration, we want to take a couple more moments to honor all the generations that have brought us here. As is often our tradition, when we gather to tell Torah, to create sacred space, we also want to take the time to honor our ancestors and our loved ones. Invite those of us in our community who are mourners to take the sacred moment and say Kaddish. Today we say Kaddish for Moses, for all our parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, teachers and friends, all those who on this day and the days that have preceded us have breathed their last. If you are a mourner during a month or a year of Kaddish, I invite you to say Kaddish with us. If you want to dedicate your Kaddish today to an ancestor or teacher, I invite you to do so. I invite you to, as Neil already started, to please put the names, if you'd like, in the chat. We will take a moment just now to get ready, and then if you're able to rise, and if you're in a place where you can quietly unmute, I invite you to do so as we say Kaddish together. Take a few seconds. So if you're able to, please unmute and please rise. Gadal,
Kadash, Merabah,
Alma divrachim yamlech malchutei chayechon yomechon chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala
People
b'zman
from our book
kariv
club that are
v'meru. Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach Le'alam La'anei Almaya Yitbarach Yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yit'aleh V'yithallal Shmei Dekudesha Berichu
Le'elam min
من כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תאבילן בעלמה ומרו אמן.
Yehe Shelamal
תודה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, כל יושבי תבל ומרו אמן.
Shalom.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל במרו אמן.
Ose shalom bimromai, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, yeimru, Shalom bimromai, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru amen, ve'imru
Amen, amen. Thank you, Naomi. May we be part of the peace. May we be part of the peace that creates this world on this day. We want to end with one more blessing. Shira Klein is in the park, joining us as one of our ritual leaders and as the proud daughter of Barbara and David. And to end this ritual moment, we want to share our oldest blessing with this group, the Birkat Kohanim, the priestly blessing. We're going to move to the next slide. And I'm going to ask all those of us in the Zoom room to fill your hands again with energy, and feel your left and your right and body and mind together. And I'm going to invite you to take your hands and put them out to the screen and send it to each other and to our generate elders, as the priests once did and we now do. And I'm going to invite Shira to help us sing and lead these words sung to our friends.
I am here underneath the biggest tree I could get to be bringing us back into that garden under the tree of life, the proud daughter of not just Barbara Klein, but of each one of you wise sages and teachers. So, so proud. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May you be blessed and protected by divine presence.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka.
May you grow and may you glow in the grace of divine radiance.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yosemecha
As Moses faced the divine face to face, so will each one of you today and every day be able to face to face with divine mystery, with each other, with all other, and may you always be present in peace. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Thank you, Shira, for joining us from the park for this beautiful tree. And now to really wrap us up, we have one closing final video from Karen with a beautiful round. And after that, we'll really do a big l'chaim and gratitudes. So I'm inviting our closing video.
Was warm this hour chill, a slight shudder, but no surprise, no regret as we turn to walk home. What was warm is now chill, a slight shudder, but no surprise, no
I'd like to invite Sarah Sokolic. I have to find you to unmute yourself, and Amichai, as Jen, we bring up our next slide.
Thank you, Naomi. I should have had a tissue nearby.
Right.
You
need the lab, she'll bless you tissues.
Exactly. They're in my purse in the other room. Wow, that was so moving, and what a beautiful tribute to the journey and the growth of all of you, who many I know for a long time, and some of you I'm just getting to know. So it is my honor to do the gratitudes this evening. First and foremost, the 18 of you, unbelievable. Just so proud. I remember being in a hotel room at a conference with Amichai and Naomi, and in February of 2019, and we were conceiving this idea and putting it on paper for UJA. And it was, a couple of weeks of brainstorming, and then it was the day before the grant was due, and we put it down on paper and we said, mwah, send it off like a message in a bottle. And here we are now, a year and a half later, celebrating today. So the 18 of you I've been a sort of a bird flying in and out with Renee and Stuart and Amichai and Janie, and just hearing and watching the progress, not being a part of it day to day, sort of you get that privilege of watching the journey grow. And there were so many of you who were part of making that happen. First, Naomi, I just want to thank you for the beautiful work you did on the Maven and the Storahtelling and the chanting and the trope with Ora and Chuck. That was really beautiful. Naomi, you are a master Storahtelling Maven. And really your gifts we saw bestowed upon this group and really shined through today. So thank you. Stuart and Renee, you are the what? Are you going to say something, Naomi?
I was just going to say we have a beautiful slide of gratitudes. I'm just going to ask Jen to flip to that slide.
Great. I'm not going to go in this order, but it's there. Okay. I want to thank Stuart and Renee, who are the wise of the wise of this group, and really who have helped us think about what's the ikar, what's the really important, the essence of what we're trying to do here, and brought your decades and wealth of knowledge and tools to the content of this program, and pivoted along the way, and worked with us and listened and taught, and were just such wise contributors to this program. So I want to thank the two of you for just hours and hours and hours of dedication. So Stuart and Renee, thank you for being our teachers. Mirala Goldsmith, if you're still on this, I saw you here with Richard earlier. Mirala's been our wonderful evaluator who's come in to evaluate along the way and ensure that we're meeting our goals and helping us pivot going forward. And so Mirala's expertise in this field for many years has put her mark on this program. So Mirala, I want to thank you. Janie Graver, where are you, Janie? Janie Graver, there you are. You are the doula of this program. You have nurtured it since its inception and seed planting and watered it and sprayed your sunshine on it, and really have brought this program to where it is today with so much love and expertise and care, and have been a real partner for so many of us, and went above and beyond, especially starting in March, to ensure that every single one of us that were part of this program could participate to the fullest, and using technology that some of us had no idea how to do, and some of us are still learning, some people here also. So Janie, I really couldn't have asked for a better partner, and you were in all the lanes, driving it forward to make it happen. So Janie, thank you. I have to acknowledge my partner, Rabbi Amichai. You have dedicated an enormous amount of your time, and because I'm in charge of knowing what everyone's doing in the organization, I know how much time you spent on this program, and it was a labor of love. And you have elevated every single one of us in our work, in our lives, in our journeys, because of what you have brought to this program. So Amichai, I know I speak for everyone here when I thank you for your contributions. Yeah, sure. Rabbi, you are our visionary and our guide and our teacher, and we are all really grateful. And this has been one special year and one special group that you've helped to carry along. So thank you for that. And of course, our funders at UJA Federation New York, I think we might have had one or two of you on today. So thank you here. Thank you very much. And I'm just going to check the slide to make sure that I'm not missing anybody here. Jen Bobo for doing the technical moderation. We had a lot of cues on that set list today, Jen. Thank you so much. And Naomi, I know you did some as well.
I want to just say one sentence, which is that Jen did like a last minute incredible training for a bunch of folks on Tech 2. So it's not just that they were working behind the scenes and doing this, but also took a leadership role that we hadn't even anticipated to help train a lot of us in a lot of the Zoom things, bells, whistles, and things that we didn't even know about.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, that there's that sort of invisible work behind the scenes that makes it all happen. Thank you, Naomi. And I do want to recognize Karen. I mean, just the talent that has shined through here, both in all the art forms. What beautiful music and arrangements, and the photo montage, which made me cry, and just all of the behind the scenes work with all of your musicians and sound engineers. We thank you so, so much for everything that you've done. Janie, I didn't know you were a flautist. How did I not know that? That was amazing. And I look forward to what's next for both this group and the future of Generate. And we have a lot of energy that we're putting into that behind the scenes here too. So it is my honor and pleasure, and I wish you all a mazal tov and a Shabbat shalom.